Welcome back. This time we're going to be doing some more asset import or asset work that's going on. If you haven't seen my previous video where I imported 3 random Sketchfab models, do check a link in the video description for that video. I basically was challenged to import 3 random Sketchfab materials provided by a user, and we did it, and it was quite fun. Today we're going to be talking about origins when it comes to importing random assets, and I've got an example behind me of some kitchen utensils, so we'll take a look at that one. I am a desktop, that's just because it's easier to swap over to Blender and show you what's going on. If you're interested in more content towards Blender or preparing assets for Neos, do let me know in the comments section. Let's go ahead and take a look at this set of assets here. I've set out the materials the best as I could. I didn't mess with the metallic maps because that takes a little while right now, but we've got sort of, cutlery, pots, pans, knives, glasses, and stuff like that. It's common that once you've imported assets, once you take a look at them, that the origins might be off. Let me show what I mean by that. So with a developer tooltip equipped, let's select this chopping board here. So this chopping board here has a bounding box which has appeared around it using the gizmo, but the origin of that object is all the way over here. You can see that by this arrow. This differs if I were to create a brand new 3D model box, which is always big, and then shrink that down and inspect it. You'll see that the origin is in the dead center of the object. When working with assets that you might not own or assets that you've just downloaded from the internet, that can sometimes happen where the origin is much, much farther away where you'd like it to be. This can cause all sorts of issues with things such as snapping. For example, if I were to make these lids on these pots snap on top of each other, because their origins are all the way over here, it would affect the colliders and the snapping operation and just generally be a little bit more difficult. You might want to fix these, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we have these exact same assets imported into Blender. So let me go ahead and tab over to Blender. So over here in Blender, I've got the same assets imported. Now, as I'm now in Blender, I'm also going to tell you that the assets linked in the video description, if you download them from Sketchfab, the actual origins in the download from Sketchfab are perfect. I didn't want to, falsely flag anyone and be like, yo, you made bad origins. So I found one that was deliberately with the origins fixed and then broke them just to show how to refix them. Should have mentioned that earlier, but there we go. So here we have the exact same assets over here in Blender. And I want to fix these origins. So you can actually see this effect inside of Blender. Let me just move that 3D cursor out of the way. If you're not familiar with Blender right now, that's totally fine. We won't be using anything here that involves keyboard shortcuts. If we were, I was going to go ahead and turn on that keyboard shortcut overlay, but I'm not going to. Everything I'm going to be doing is with the mouse. So if you'd like to see more Blender content, do let me know, and I will turn on those keyboard overlay shortcut things that you see lots of Blender tutorials using. So anyway, we're going to start with this bowl here, and if I select this bowl, and I move it, you can move it over here using the move operation. You'll see, oh, look, its origin lines up exactly to how it's displayed inside Neos, which is all the way over there, and that's not desirable. So let's move that back down here. Same thing goes for this cup. You can see that the origin's over here, the chopping board, like everything, the origin's over here. That's because I moved them all over here. So the easiest way to fix this is to go ahead and select the object that you want the origin to be a little bit more fixed on, and come up to this menu at the top here which says Object, and then go to Set Origin and do Origin to Center of Mass, Volume, or Surface. I usually try both and see which one looks right. So let's do this for the bowl. We'll just pick the first one. And you can see it's now moved that origin over to the center of this object here. I'm going to move around just to see where that is. Yeah, it looks like it's just off of the surface of the bowl there. It's more sort of in the middle of the free space inside the bowl. That's still totally fine there. And now if you move it around, you'll see that that origin now lines up a little bit better. So if we were doing, I don't know, snapping of some vegetables, whatever, inside of Blender, then inside of Neo, sorry, then it'll be a lot easier to get those sorted out. It'll also make a much simpler hierarchy inside the game. I'll show you something that looks like when we head back over to Neos. So I could go through and, click all of these, do set origin to surface, like for all of them. So I've just done the chopping boards, and you can see the chopping board has a good origin. But I can also just go ahead, select them all, and do it once, set origin, surface, and there we go. So you can go along them. It's that tiny little orange dot when you select an object. So you see here when I'm selecting that object, that's that orange dot. You're seeing it more obviously because I have the move tool selected. If I have just the select tool selected, you wouldn't see it, but you see that orange dot in the middle. That's where the origins are. Same thing on these spoons, knives, etc. As you see, these are set to sort of the bridge point between the holding part of the tool and the operational part of the tool, which is cool for cutlery. So yeah, that's how you fix those origins. I find myself doing this an awful lot inside of Blender just before I import those assets, and I make sure those origins are good. Let's go ahead and head back into Neos, and I'll re-import that model. I'll actually import the original one from Sketchfab that had these fixed anyway, and you'll see what that looks like once it's brought into Neos. So over here, back in Neos here. Now I've found my way to speak again. We've got the original kitchen pack FBX here, and I can just go ahead and import this. This won't set up the materials or anything like that. It is also rotated, but that's totally fine because I know that these origins are much better. So I'm going to go ahead and just let's just reset the rotation here, and then flip it by -90 on the X. There we go. Everything's the right way up. So here you can see the exact same objects imported, but if I say want the chopping board here, you'll see the chopping board has the origin in the center. This is a lot more desirable when playing around with assets. It just makes things a lot more simple if you don't have to, inspect an object and notice that its origin point is a mile away. Of course, there are in-game ways of fixing this, but those are undesirable sometimes because they create additional slots, and that just means you have to sort of keep an eye on things. I'll show you how to do that, though. So if you go to Open Inspector, let's do it on this this bowl again that we've been playing with. You'll see here that the origin point is, quite far away. It's closer than the others because the bowl happens to be on the left-hand side of that. But if I go up to this bowl here in the inspector, I can click Create Pivot at Center, and then I can go up one more, and you'll see Bowl Pivot. And what it's done here is it's moved the coordinate systems around such that the bowl itself is positioned offset from the slot above it, which has that aligned to the center. So it's created two slots there, one called pivot and one called bowl. That's often what I'll do if I'm just importing some assets to play around with, but if these are assets I intend to use for something really complicated, I'll go ahead and fix those in Blender, because that means I don't have to deal with the bowl pivot. Additionally, when you're sort of moving around objects in your scene, you might go ahead and just inspect this bowl and be like, yes, moving it around, but now the origin's broken. And that's because when you inspect something using the colliders, it will go to the object that you hit rather than that pivot that you've created. So if you wanted to move that, you'd always have to remember, hey, I need to go around here. By the way, this arrow on the left here, on these buttons, if you double click it, it'll go up one level. To that pivot, and now you can move it by there. Or you can do what I just showed you, fix the origins inside Blender, and then you can just select it once. You don't need to move around. There's no pivots or anything in there. There's just a bowl that moves up and down. So yeah, that is the origins and how I deal with them inside Neos and in Blender. Generically, what you want to do is to keep your transforms as simple as possible, and this is sort of part of that, is keeping those origins simple. Like I said, if you want more information on Blender or more information on sort of how I prepare assets for coming into Neos, do let me know. Drop some links, drop some comments in the comments section, and do check those links for videos that I have linked. I will see you next time, maybe back in VR. Bye-bye.